Parenting style and competence predict many aspects of the children's well-being. To better understand the literature related to parenting style and parents' involvement in children's education, we conducted a scoping review by using a survey method to identify existing literature. This literature review summarized the research surrounding 5 domains: definition, parenting style, good skill, relations and effect, and Islamic perspective. The main focus of the survey was to identify data that is most recent and relevant. So this research paper focused on 71 studies, 41 children, and 30 parents. Article from Google Scholar, Very Well Family, Science Direct, and Taylor and Francis Journal were identified related to the topic, including both parenting style and children's education. We then coded all included articles to describe topic discussed. It was analyzed that authoritative parenting was the most effective parenting style, especially in enhancing children's education, which creates some rules to earn their respect. This information can be used in further investigation on parenting style in different continents to have an understanding of the culture of parenting style and its relation to children's education.
So for the first question, do your parents make decision for your study plan? 65.9% said no, and the rest 34.1% said yes. So based on the survey, we can conclude that mostly parents did not involve in their education ways. This type of parenting we call permissive parent because the parent communicate openly and usually let the children decide for themselves. Typically goes through great lengths to keep their kids happy. In education plan, maybe parents can decide education plan for their children, but they also need to know if their children able to study or follow their plan, because every children have their own or different abilities and capabilities to adapt with something. So 27% of children say their parents is permissive and 14% is their parents authoritarian. So next question is, if you do not agree with your parents' decision, will you discuss with them? So you can see the most or the highest is yes, which is 82.9%. I love to see result from this question because we can make conclusion that children are brave enough to confront with their parents to state reason and their plan if they did not agree with their parent. Parents who are listens and take consideration to their children's thoughts, feelings and opinion known as authoritative parent. Children know about themselves more, and if they say they are unable to cope with the subject or etc., parents should listen and take action because if not, it will harm the children. So, based on this question, 34% parents is authoritative and 7% uninvolved with their education plans children. So, question number 4 for parents. If my children have done something wrong, I will punish them right away. We can see mostly parents will disagree to punish their children right away after they done something wrong. This parenting we call authoritative because if children have done something wrong or bad, they may have their own reason. As a matured parents, we should listen to them why they act like that, and the parents should give or should guide their children through honest discussion to teach values and reasoning. So, from this, authoritarian parents is 15% and authoritative parents is 16. So, if my children argue as a parent, choose the best way to solve it. It's question for number 5. Commonly, kids will argue with their other siblings because maybe they felt unfairness or they felt like they are being neglected. 23 parents are agree which they will find way or solution rather than punish them right away. We can say that they also an authoritarian parents because they will listen and take consideration to their children's thoughts. Question number 6 is I do not expect mature behavior from my children and often seem more like a friend than a parental figure. 13 parents quite agree with this statement, and we can conclude that they are a permissive parents. Permissive parents are more likely to take on a friendship rather than parenting role with their kids. These parents mostly allow their kids to do what they want and offer limited guidance or direction.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Izzati binti Zakaria and my metric number 2023646, and I will present about what is parenting style. Definition: what is parenting and parenting style? Parenting can be defined as the raising of children, while parenting style can be defined as a psychological construct representing standard strategies that parents use in their child rearing, and a constellation of parents' attitudes and behaviors toward children and an emotional climate in which the parents' behavior are expressed. Types of parenting styles. There are 4 types of parenting styles, which are authoritarian parents, authoritative, permissive, and the last one, uninvolved. For authoritarian parents, they focus on obedience and punishment over discipline. For authoritative parents, they create positive relationship and enforce rules. For permissive parents, they do not enforce rules and famous with the saying kids will be kids. And for the uninvolved parents, they provide little guidance, nurturing, or attention. Believe kids should be seen and not heard. Authoritarian parents believe kids should follow the rules without exception. They famous for saying, "Because I said no." They don't allow kids to get involved in problem-solving challenges or obstacles, and they use punishment over discipline. Have rules and use consequence. They put a lot of effort into creating and maintaining a positive relationship with their children. They explain the reason behind rules, and they enforce rules and give consequence but take their children's feeling into consideration. If the statements sound familiar, you may be an authoritative parent. Authoritative parents have rules and they use consequence, but they also take their children's opinion into account. They validate their children's feeling while also making it clear that the adults are ultimately in charge. Authoritative parents invest time and energy into preventing behavior problems before they start. They also use positive discipline strategies to reinforce positive behavior like praise and reward system. They set rules but rarely enforce them. They don't give out consequences very often, and they think their children will learn best with the little interference from them. If those statements sound familiar, you might be a permissive parent. Permissive parents are lenient. They often only step in when there is a serious problem. They are quite forgiving and they adopt an attitude, kids will be kids. When they do use consequence, they may not make those consequences stick. They might give privilege back if a child begs, or they may allow a child to get out of a time early if he promised to be good. Permissive parents usually take on more of a friend role than a parent role. They often encourage their children to talk with them about their problems, but they usually don't put much effort into discouraging poor choices or bad behavior. Expect children to raise themselves. They focus on their own problems and desire. The lack of an emotional attachment, lack of interest in children's activities, and they do not set rules or expectations for behavior. Authoritative parenting is a parenting style characterized by high responsiveness and high demands. Authoritative parents are responsive to the child's emotional needs while having high standards. They set limits and are very consistent in enforcing boundaries. Example of authoritative parenting: they are warm, attuned, and nurturing to their children. They earn and not demand children's respect because their children want to. They use positive discipline instead of punitive and forceful. For example, they always discuss with their children for every instruction. They set clear limits on their children's behavior, such as they ask their children to stop playing games at certain time, to continue studies, and explain why they have to stop. They focus on reasoning with children instead of demanding blind obedience, because they know every children have rights to know why is it wrong and why is it right. And the last one, they definitely requiring a child to do course, get good grades, and show manners. Authoritarian parenting, sometimes called disciplinarian parenting, is defined by the need for control, strict boundaries, and high expectation for children. Authoritarian parents have a rigid, controlling, my way or the highway style of parenting. Example of authoritarian parents: authoritarian parents never letting kids to make decisions for themselves because they believe they are the only persons in charge and the children have to follow every instruction. They punish harshly for minor infraction, thinking that their children will not repeat afterward. They always demanding tasks or setting potentially unattainable goals while also not providing support. And the last one, they don't help children understanding the value of doing something because they do not explain why you have to do this, why is it wrong, and why is it right. Permissive parenting is a type of parenting style characterized by low demands with high responsiveness. Permissive parents tend to be very loving, yet provide few guidelines and rules. These parents do not expect mature behavior from their children and often seem more like a friend than a parental figure. If their children playing games for a long time, they not be able to say no or stop, especially when they are children begging. They always putting the wants of their children before their own. Sometimes they rather to buy them anything just to avoid their children crying. The bad is they're not setting specific timing for play, study and sleep. And they ask their children to do tasks but only at their own convenience. Uninvolved parenting, also called neglectful parenting, which obviously carries more negative connotations, is a style of parenting where parents don't respond to their children's needs or desires beyond the basics of food, clothing, and shelter. These children receive little guidance, discipline, and nurturing from their parents, and oftentimes kids are left to raise themselves and make decisions. Example of uninvolved parenting: they feel disengaged or detached from their babies. They show little interest in artwork their young children create. They may not impose any consequences, and they fail to create reasonable limits such as bedtimes. This is the result of the survey form about parenting style. We gave the survey form to 70 participants, 30 parents and 40 children. The most preferred parenting style is authoritative parents. 80% of them are being authoritative parents, 60% are being permissive, 50% are uninvolved, and the least percentage are authoritarian parents, which is 30%. Why is authoritative parenting style is the best parenting style? Number 1, nurturing. Authoritative parents are attuned, nurturing, sensitive, and supportive of their children's emotional and developmental needs. Research shows that children with responsive parents tend to develop a secure attachment. Children with secure attachment are protected from developing internalizing problems. Infants who have responsive mothers also develop better problem-solving skill, cognitive competence, and emotional problem. Number 2, responsive. Emotional regulation lays the foundation for a children's success. Responsiveness and autonomy support from the parents seem to provide children with the opportunity to develop good self-regulation skill. Number 3, supportive. Authoritative parents are supportive. They tend to be more involved in children's schooling by volunteering or monitoring homework. Parental involvement has been shown to have a beneficial impact on adolescent academic achievement. Number 4, open-minded. Authoritative parents are also open-minded and collaborative. They use open communication, explanations, and reasoning to foster individuality. These parents are modeling pro-social behavior that the children can internalize. These children grow up having good social skills. Number 5, high standards. The high standards demanded by authoritative parents keep children's behavior in check. The last one, discipline. In Bamri's study, she found that authoritative parents were remarkably consistent in enforcing limits. Consistency is one of the most important elements in the successful discipline at home. Kids whose parents are consistent in disciplining have less internalizing and externalizing problems.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Najiha binti Mukhtar and my metric number is 2111402. And I will presenting about how far does parenting style affect children development. Meaning of demandingness and responsiveness. Demandingness refers to the claims parents make on children to become integrated into the family whole by their maturity demands, supervision, disciplinary efforts, and willingness to confront the child who disobeys. Bomrin 1991. And responsiveness means the extent to which parents intentionally foster individuality, self-regulation, and self-assertion by being attuned, supportive, and a question to children's special needs and demands. Bomrin, 1991. Authoritative parenting. This type of parent normally develops a close, nurturing relationship with their children. They have clear guidelines for their expectation and explain their reasons associated with disciplinary action. Disciplinary methods are used as a way of support instead of punishment. Not only can children have input into goals and expectation, but there are also frequent and appropriate level of communication between the parent and their child. In general, this parenting style leads to the healthiest outcomes for children but requires a lot of patience and effort on both parties. Authoritative parenting results in children who are confident, responsible, and able to self-regulate. They can manage their negative emotions more effectively, which leads to better social outcomes and emotional health. Since these parents also encourage independence, their children will learn that they are capable of accomplishing goals on their own. This results in children who grow up with higher self-esteem. Also, these children have a high level of academic achievement and school performance. Authoritarian parenting. Parents of this style tend to have a one-way mode of communication where the parent establishes strict rules and the child obeys. There is little to no room for negotiation from the child, and the rules are not usually explained. They expect their children to uphold these standards while making no errors. Mistakes usually lead to punishment. Authoritarian parents are normally less nurturing and have high expectations with limited flexibility. Children that grow up with authoritarian parents will usually be the most well-behaved in the room because of the consequences of misbehaving. Additionally, they are better able to adhere to the precise instruction required to reach a goal. Furthermore, this parenting style can result in children who have higher levels of aggression but may also be shy, socially inept, and unable to make their own decisions. This aggression can remain uncontrolled as they have difficulty managing anger as they were not provided with proper guidance. They have poor self-esteem, which further reinforces their inability to make decisions. Strict parental rules and punishment often influence the child to rebel against authority figures as they grow older. As example, the authoritarian parenting style is about being open in a new window, strict and stern. It insists on unquestioning obedience and enforces good behavior through psychological control, treats, shaming, and other punishments. As defined by psychologists, it's also a style associated with less parental warmth and responsiveness. That doesn't bode well for children's health outcomes, especially in stressful environments. As I note opens in a new window elsewhere, warmth and responsiveness can protect kids from the effects of toxic stress. It's a scenario where behavior problems and authoritarian parenting are linked, but not necessarily because authoritarian parenting causes behavior problem. Instead, the kids themselves are part of the story. Their misbehavior triggers authoritarian responses. So, how do we find out what's really going on? When researchers tried to tease apart causation, they have confirmed that children's pre-existing behavior problem can indeed provoke authoritarian reaction from parents. But there is also evidence that authoritarianism is harmful. It appears to make children's behavior problem worse. For example, in a behavioral genetics study of twins, Rebecca Waller and her colleagues focus on kids with careless and emotional traits. Traits that like low empathy and poor moral self-regulation. These traits are linked with serious behavior problems, and Waller's team confirmed that genes matter. Some kids were at higher genetic risk for developing careless and emotional traits, but parenting style also had an effect. When parents show children lots of warmth and affection, kids were less likely to develop careless and emotional traits. Even kids who were at high genetic risk show fewer symptoms. Permissive parenting. Permissive parents tend to be warm, nurturing, and usually have minimal or no expectation. They impose limited rules on their children. Communication remains open, but parents allow their children to figure things out for themselves. These low levels of expectation usually result in rare uses of discipline. They act more like friends than parents. Limited rules can lead to children with unhealthy eating habits, especially regarding snacks. This can result in increased risk for obesity and other health problems later in the child's life. The child also has a lot of freedom as they decide their bedtime, if or when to do the homework, and screen time with the computer and television. Freedom to this degree can lead to other negative habits as the parents does not provide much guidance on moderation. Overall, children of permissive parents usually have some self-esteem and decent social skills. However, they can be impulsive, demanding, selfish, and lack self-regulation. For example, there are studies to back this up, particularly among families in the United States. For example, Susie Lamborn and colleagues surveyed over 4,000 American families and found that adolescents with permissive parents achieved less at school and were more likely to engage in self-destructive activities like drug or alcohol use. But there is conflicting evidence. Some researchers report that the children of permissive parents thrive. For example, consider a study conducted on teenagers in Spain. Fernando Garcia and Enrique Garcia questioned more than 1,400 kids about their parents. Many teens report that their parents provided them with high levels of emotional support. So, the researchers classified these parents as warm and responsive. But were the parents authoritative or permissive? To sort this out, Garcia asked teen further question, this time about parental strictness. In particular, the researchers used a screening tool called the Parental Control Scale, which present respondents with a series of statements to evaluate using a 4-point scale: 1 almost never true, 4 almost always true, which kids were asked to rate their agreement with statements like this: my parents tell me exactly what time to be home when I go out. My parents give me certain jobs to do and will not let me do anything else until they are done. My parents believe in having a lot of rules and sticking to them. My parents make sure I know exactly what I can and cannot do. Uninvolved parenting. Children are given a lot of freedom as this type of parent normally stays out of the way. They fulfill their children's basic needs while generally remaining detached from their child's life. An uninvolved parent does not utilize a particular disciplining style and has a limited amount of communication with their children. They tend to offer a low amount of nurturing while having either few or no expectation of their children. The children of uninvolved parents usually are resilient and may even be more self-sufficient than children with other types of upbringing. However, these skills are developed out of necessity. Additionally, they might have trouble controlling their emotion, less effective coping strategies, may have academic challenges and difficulty with maintaining or nurturing social relationships.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifah Nordalili binti Syed Shuaib. My metric number 2117216. And I will explain about what are good skills of parenting. What is parenting skills? Parenting skills is the natural and accurate and specific ability, experience, knowledge, intuition, qualities, and skills to be an effective and loving parent to a baby, child, or children. There is 12 effective parenting skills that every parent should have. Number 1 is focus more on your children's positive behavior than negative behavior. Yale University psychology professor Alan Kasdin explains that parents should be intentional about focusing more on their children's positive behavior than on their negative behavior. The more parents scold or reprimand, the more the bad behavior gets repeated. When they receive a lot of scolding, children start to internalize the belief that I'm a bad child who misbehaves and gets scolded. As such, they don't feel motivated to correct their behavior because it has already become a part of their identity. Effective parents understand that the better approach is to acknowledge or describe the children's good behavior when they see it. Approach this with patience and dedication, and you will observe your children's behavior improving over time. Number 2. Teach your children to focus on the needs of others. Lara Ekni's research shows that children find happiness through giving to others. In fact, children find greater happiness when they give to others sacrificially. These are interesting findings because most of us are naturally self-centered. We look out for our own needs before the needs of others. But the research indicates that if we overcome our selfish nature and focus on the needs of others, we'll be happier. If you want your children to lead joyful, fulfilling lives, teach them to serve others and contribute. Involve them in activities where they get to help others and make a positive impact. Number 3 is don't shout at your children. You have probably already told yourself that you shouldn't shout at your children, but when your children are driving you up the wall, it isn't easy to stop yourself from yelling. Meng Tae Wang research findings are clear. The more you shout at your children, the more their behavior will worsen. Instead of trying to control your children's behavior, understand their perspective and feelings. Then use logical reasoning to get through to them. Number 4 is give your children responsibilities around the house. The Harvard study of adult development is one of the longest longitudinal studies ever done. One finding of the study is that children who do more chores around the house become happier later on. Household responsibilities teach children important life lessons related to duty, cooperation, community, and hard work. People who learn such lessons early in life are more likely to become well-adjusted adults. Successful parents make household chores a part of the family's routine and culture. This sets children up for future success. Parenting skill number 5 is build a strong relationship with your spouse. Children from low-conflict families are happier and more successful in the long run as compared to children from high-conflict families. The research shows that parents who have a healthy marriage are more likely to raise children who are well-adjusted. One of the most important things you can do to benefit your children is to build a strong relationship with your spouse. Parenting skill number 6 is teach your children to view challenges positively. Renowned psychologist Carol Dweck has spent decades trying to understand how your mindset affects how successful you become. She has found that people who view challenges and obstacles positively are far more likely to become successful than those who don't. Successful people look at challenge and think it's going to be hard, but it's going to be fun. I'm going to learn a lot through the process of overcoming this challenge. On the other hand, people who aren't so successful look at challenge and think, it's going to be hard, so I'd rather do something easier. I'll try to avoid this challenge, but if I really can't, I will find a shortcut instead. These differing attitudes develop in childhood and adolescence. As such, good parents hold their skill of enabling the children to view challenge positively. Number 7 is don't do things for your children that your children should do themselves. Parents want their children to become responsible and independent, but at the same time, they feel the urge to supervise their children closely and do things for their children that their children ought to do themselves. This explains the prevalence of helicopter parents. Larry Nelson's research shows that helicopter parenting causes children to become less engaged in school and cause their well-being to suffer too. A good parenting skill to develop is how not to be a helicopter parent. Number 8. Help your children develop social skills. Research tracked more than 750 children over a period of 13 to 19 years. They found a correlation between the children's social skill as kindergarteners and how self-confident and successful they were as adults. These findings highlight the importance of teaching children social skills. This is the list of social skills that you can help your children develop. Sharing, giving feedback, accepting differences, making eye contact, identifying other feelings, listening, not interrupting, helping others, cooperating, and others. Number 9 is guide your children without controlling or micromanaging them. Psychologist Diana Bomrin has done years of research about the effects of different parenting styles on children. She concluded that there are 3 types of parenting styles in general: permissive, authoritarian, and authoritative. Furthermore, Wendy Groening research also indicates that children who are raised by controlling parents are less independent and are less likely to develop problem-solving skills. Of course, it's easier said than done for parents to adopt an authoritative parenting style all the time. But the research shows that this is the most effective approach to take. So make an effort to guide and coach your children without being controlling. This is a parenting skills that defines. Make an effort to guide and coach your children without being controlling. This is a parenting skill that's definitely worth developing. Number 10 is give your children a sense of security. Research by Lee Raby indicates that children who have a strong sense of security early on in life go on to perform better in school. These children also go on to have healthier relationships in the adulthood. This may seem like an obvious finding, but it's interesting to note that early experience have such a profound impact on a child's development. To build on your parenting strengths and give your children a sense of security, you can do this. Show affection toward them, appreciate them, treat them with respect, acknowledge their feelings, be approachable, keep your promise, be dependable and trustworthy. Skills 11. Help your children to develop resilience and perseverance. Psychologist Angela Duckworth has found that grit defined as perseverance and patience for long-term goals is one of the most important traits that leads to success. When it comes to long-term success, the research indicates that grit is more important than factors like IQ and talent. How can you master the parenting skills that will help your children develop grit? Here are some suggestions. Emphasize progress over perfection. Encourage them to take on manageable challenges. Emphasize effort over outcome. And moreover. Lastly, manage your own stress effectively. A fascinating study conducted by Marilyn Essek shows that parents' stress can affect their children's genes for many years into the future. This highlights how vital it is for parents to manage their own stress effectively. Stress affects you, but it also affects your children. I have heard it said that stress is a fact of life, but that it should never become a way of life. Managing stress is a huge topic on its own. Next, we move to the next topic. What are the most essential parenting skills? Firstly, love and affection. Showing love is the number one competency that predicts good parenting outcomes. This includes showing unconditional love, support, and acceptance. It also stresses the importance of spending one-on-one time with your child. Number 2, stress management. Not only is it important for you to manage your own stress, it's also critical to teach your child stress management and relaxation techniques. Relationship skills. Success in this area means you model and maintain healthy relationship skills with other people, like spouse, significant other, co-parent, co-workers, family, and the others. Number 4, autonomy and independence. When parents foster autonomy and independence, it tells their children that they respect and believe in their abilities. Number 5, education and learning. Teaching children to be lifelong learners begins at home. This includes valuing education, modeling learning, and providing enrichment opportunities for your child. Number 6, life skills. Providing for your child's needs and planning for the future falls into this category. This includes showing your child how to positively view obstacles and challenge, which helps them develop resilience and perseverance. Number 7, behavior management. Parents who use positive discipline rely on positive reinforcement and deliver consequences, not punishment, in a kind and firm manner, helping a child feel connected, capable, and a sense of belonging. This also minimizes or eliminates yelling and harsh verbal discipline, which one 214 study found is damaging to developing adolescents. Number 8 is health. You model healthy lifestyle choices that include exercise and good nutrition choice for your family. Number 9, religion. You support spiritual and religious development. Lastly, safety. You help to ensure your child is safe. This includes setting boundaries and being aware of their activities and friends. And it's also a tactical things. Everything from bed-proofing your home and enforcing wearing helmets while bike riding to teaching them how to cross the street smartly and what sexual consent means. We move on to the next topic. What can you do to improve your parenting skills? So I will share with you some of the tips. Practice active listening with your child. Show love and affection daily. Offer choices when possible. Teach them how to express their feelings. Make time for your child. Avoid yelling, shaming, and labeling. Assign age-appropriate chores. Let your child feel. This teach them how to be resilient. Set limits and be consistent with discipline and consequences. Don't make repeated threats about a consequence. So, next slide. Don't make repeated threats about a consequence. Follow through with consequences immediately. Acknowledge and validate their feelings. Separate the action from the child. Means a behavior is bad, the child isn't bad. Respond in a calm, even tone. Show unconditional love. Model the behavior you want them to display. Practice positive discipline. Catch your child doing something right and make a positive comment about it. So, the next one is what makes a good parent? A good parent is someone who strives to make decisions in the best interest of the child. What makes a great parent isn't only defined by the parent's action, but also their intention. A good parent doesn't have to be perfect. No one is perfect. No child is perfect either. Keeping this in mind is important when we set our expectations. Successful parenting is not about achieving perfection, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't work towards that goal. Set high standards for ourselves first and then our children second. We serve as role models for them. Now, I will share with you the tips to be a good parenting. copy others' actions to understand them and to incorporate them into our own. Children in particular watch everything their parents do very carefully. So, be the person you want your child to be, respect your child, show them positive behavior and attitude, have empathy towards your child's emotion, and your child will follow suit. The second one is love them and show them through action. Show your love. There is no such thing as loving your child too much. Loving them cannot spoil them. Only what you choose to do or give in the name of love can. Things like material indulgence, leniency, low expectation, and overprotection. When these things are given in place of real love, that's when you will have a spoiled child. Loving your child can be as simple as giving them hugs, spending time with them, and listening to their issues seriously every day. Showing these acts of love can trigger the release of feel-good hormones such as oxytocin. These neurochemicals can bring us a deep sense of calm, emotional warmth, and contentment. From this, the child will develop resilience and not to mention a closer relationship with you. Tips number 3 is practice kind and firm positive parenting. Babies are born with around 100 billion brain cells, neurons, with relatively little connection. These connections create our thoughts, drive our actions, shape our personalities, and basically determine who we are. They are created, strengthened, and sculpted through experiences across our life. Give your child positive experience. They will have the ability to experience positive experience themselves and offer them to others. Give your child negative experience. They won't have the kind of development necessary for them to thrive. Sing that silly song. Have a tickle marathon. Go to the park. Laugh with your child. Right through an emotional tantrum. Solve a problem together with a positive attitude. Not only do this positive experience create good connections in your child's brain, but they also form the memories of you that your child carries for life. When it comes to discipline, it seems hard to remain positive, but it is possible to practice positive discipline and avoid punitive measures. Being a good parent means you need to teach your child the moral in what is right and what is wrong. Setting limits and being consistent are the keys to good discipline. Be kind and firm when enforcing those rules. Focus on the reason behind the child's behavior and make it an opportunity to learn for the future rather than to punish for the past. Next, be a safe haven for your child. Let your child know that you will always be there for them by being responsive to the child's sickness and sensitive to their needs. Support and accept your child as an individual. Be a warm, safe haven for your child to explore from. Children raised by parents who are consistently responsive tend to have better emotional regulation development, social skills development, and mental health outcomes. Number 5. Talk with your child and help their brains integrate. Most of us already know the importance of communication. Talk to your child and also listen to them carefully. By keeping an open line of communication, you will have a better relationship with your child, and your child will come to you when there is a problem. But there is another reason for communication. You help your child integrate different parts of his or her brain. Integration is similar to our body, which different organs need to coordinate and work together to maintain a healthy body. When different parts of the brain are integrated, they can function harmoniously as a whole, which means fewer tantrums, more cooperative behavior, more empathy, and better mental well-being. To do that, talk through troubling experience. Ask your child to describe what happened and how he or she felt to develop attuned communication. You don't have to provide solutions. You don't need to have all the answers to be a good parent. Tips number 6. Reflect on your own childhood. Many of us want to parent differently from our parents. Even those who had good upbringing and a happy childhood may want to change some aspect of how they were brought up. But very often, when we open our mouth, we speak just like our parents did. Reflecting on our own childhood is a step towards understanding why we parent the way we do. Make note of things you had like to change and think of how you had do it differently in a real scenario. Try to mindful and change your behavior the next time those issues come up. Don't give up if you don't succeed at first. It takes practice, lots of practice to consciously change one child's upbringing methods.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And hello everyone. My name is Yuki Ashira binti Nawang with metric card number 2013974, and I will be explaining about relationship of parental involvement in children education in the terms of types of responsibilities. So, what can we understand about parental involvement in education perspective? So here are some findings based on the definition of parental involvement. Gornick and Srewezik, 1994, defined that parental involvement is the dedication of resources by the parent to the child. The next one is by Hoover Dempsey and Sandler, 1997, described that parental involvement is a parental activities at school and home that connected to children's learning in school. The last one, by Epstein 1987 and Kummer 1995, had highlighted two specific types of parental involvements like school-based strategies, such as stay communicated with the teacher or attending the school events, and also home-based strategies, which is providing support and structure regarding to learning and education at home. For this part, I will going to explain the article that mentioned about the types of responsibilities. Wendy S. Gornick and her colleagues had published an article in 1994 and 1997. They had conceptualized three dimensions of parental involvement based on how parent-child interactions affect students' schooling and motivation. The first involvement is behavioral involvement. It refers to parents' public action that reflect their interest in their child's education, such as volunteering at the school, attending meeting of parents and teacher association, and attend the event that related to the student academic matter. You can refer to the picture that I have provided, which is the parents are attending an event at the school. The second one is personal involvement. They also mention in the article that personal involvement is something that includes parent-child interaction that communicate positive attitudes about school and the importance of education to the child. The third one is cognitive or intellectual involvement by the parents. It refers to the parents' behavior itself that promote children's skill development and knowledge, such as reading books together, visiting zoo with the siblings, going to library and also museum. So, for this part, I will going to reveal the research that mention also about the types of parental responsibilities and children education. In this part, I'm going to explain about Epstein's parent involvement model, which have 6 keys, which is parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision making, and also collaborating with the community. The first keys by Epstein is parenting. Parenting is helping all families establish supportive home environments for children as students. Epstein et al. 2002 also emphasized that this type of model will help to include good and improve attendance of the student, awareness of importance of school, and develop respect for the parents. Here are some of the way of parenting in education, and you can also refer to the image given. The first one is stories, conversation, play picture card games with your child, visit the library on a regular basis, and also show children that you, as a parent, read books and magazines for information and also enjoyment. The second key is communicating. Parents are responsible in establishing effective two-way communication about school programs and children progress. For example, in terms of parent-teacher conference, clear information on school policies and programs, and also make phone calls with the teacher in charge. Epstein et al. 2002 also emphasized that these keys will show the benefits that children are understanding about the school policies, awareness of their own progress, and improving communication skills. The third one is volunteering. Parents also responsible in recruiting, and also parents need to help and support at school, home, or other location, and teachers also are in charge in this case. For example, parents are responsible in helping with school maintenance via volunteering for safety and operation of schools, assisting educators, and also helping other parents. This model, which is volunteering, will help children to improve communicating skill with adults and increase learning skills from teaching by means of these volunteering activities, which had been explained also by Epstein et al. 2002. In the picture given, we can see that the parents are responsible in taking care of their child's safety when going to the school, and also the teacher, students, and parents are cooperating in cleaning the school. The next case is learning at home. Parents also responsible in providing information and ideas to families about how to help their children at home with their learning. For example, information on homework policies and how to supervise children, family reading activities at school, and also at home. Learning at home will result in children's higher homework completion rates, increased view of parent as more similar to teacher, and enhance self-concept as learner, which also being explained by Epstein et al. 2002. In the image below, we can see that the parents are trying to help the children on how to use technologies in gaining new knowledge. And the first image also, we can see the parents are helping the child in doing their homework. The next case is decision making. Parents also are responsible in or serve as representatives and leaders on school communities. For example, in the Parents-Teacher Association and also Parent-Teacher Organization, and also a network that have been provided tooling all the parents. For example, the Parent-Teacher Association itself, and also WhatsApp group for all the parents and the teacher. The awareness of representation of families and understanding that student rights are protected are some of the outcomes for children, which had been explained by Epstein et al. 2002 in this key, which is decision making. So I'm going to explain some of the roles of the Parent-Teacher Association, which is foster closer relation, assist parents in activities, and it also helps to bring the best education to the children. So the last case is collaborating with the community. The parents also responsible in identifying and integrating resources and services from the community to improve school programs. For example, information on community activities and services that link to learning skills also need to be provided, and also participation of alumni in school and service integration through partnerships with organizations such as civic, cultural, and health agencies in the community. Epstein et al. 2002 explained that it will help the children to increase their skills and talents, and also there are many specific benefits linked to these community programs. For example, here are some more that I have taken, which is in China, from Anji country, China, there is a community model that had been introduced, which is a teacher-parent-child learning community model during COVID pandemic. So, a preschool teacher in Anji country, China, developed a plan, the teacher-parent-child learning community model, for parents to become involved with teaching their preschooler at home. Actively engaging both children and their parents in important learning activities, the plan not also only help children learn, but it also help parents learn how to teach their children too. This is some of the best way or some of the best role model on how to make a community activity based on children education. So, as a conclusion, in summary, parental involvement give high impact to student achievement because their interactions really affect student motivation, their sense of competence, and enhance their beliefs, self-esteem to strive for success. That's all.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Nurul Saadah binti Jamaluddin and my metric number is 2020324, and I will explain about parenting style from Islamic perspective. There are various of hadith that related with parenting style, but I'm really interested with this one. Akrimu awladakum wa ahsinu adabahum. Take good care of your children and brighten up well. Children's personality is immensely influenced by the environment in which the children is brought up. The family of the children play the crucial part in shaping the personality of the children. Children are an amanah for us as a Muslim and responsibility as much as they are a gift. So it is parents' job and also community or our job to make sure they become hardworking, productive, and most importantly God-fearing individuals who will be an asset to the ummah. So our attention and aim when raising their children should be to make them benefit for parents and themselves for the hereafter. Families are considered to be at the heart of every Muslim community. Family life was created by Allah to keep society together, and Muslims should follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, who was married and raised a family. The traditional Muslim family is an extended family. It usually includes parents, children, grandparents, and elderly relatives. Most Muslims believe that extended families mean greater stability, continuity, love, and support for each other. So, what is the parenting style from Islamic perspective? Let's begin. The first point for parenting style from Islamic perspective is children and spiritual development. Muslim children are born into a state of fitrah, means purity and awareness to God. Children are born pure. When children are young, they are still in the process of learning what is wrong, what is right, and the correct way to behave in their environment. So, the parents have the responsibility to developing to their children's spirituality. This may be achieved through teaching in daily life. Spirituality in Islam is based on human pure innate nature and divine monotheistic perspective. In the sphere of Islamic spirituality, it is supposed that human innate nature is primordially in form of monotheism in potential form and like a mirror, is pure and empty of all taints and sins. The most important action that must be taken as regards spiritual education of child is getting this innate nature in the correct path of development and its divine perfection, because the main destination of all revealed religions is also the expansion and growth of spirituality, which cannot be achieved but via cultivation and education of soul and its guidance toward goodness. In other words, Islamic spirituality is nothing other than knowing, loving, and obeying God through the means revealed in the Quran, and promulgated and exemplified by the Prophet on the basis of the full doctrine of the divine nature contained in the Quran and Hadith. So, for example, family is responsible for teaching children about halal and haram. So, the father is responsible for taking their children or introduce their children, especially the boys, take them to the mosque. The second one for parenting style from Islamic perspective is fairness from parents. It is natural that parents are sometimes unable to love their children equally. However, parents should, as a matter of principle, avoid showing preferential treatment among their children. This may lead to unimaginable crises in the family sooner or later. Parents should not show one of his children due favor more so than the other by giving him more than his other children or praising him more than any of the others. The Prophet had warned that wattaqullaha wa'adilu fi awladikum, fear Allah and be just with regard to your children. It has been emphasized in Islam to treat your children fairly. Many people assume that means having their children inherit equally, but fair does not necessarily mean equal. Focus on to treating your children fairly instead of equally. Some kids may require a bit more help, time, and attention compared to others. So if your children feel you neglect them or treat them unfairly, what you can do? First, acknowledge but making no apologies for it. First, listen to his or her reason and justify yourself properly. Be firm that giving the siblings some extra help or attention is necessary and lace your word with some compliment. Second, double down on the small, little gesture. No matter how busy your day may be, it is not all too energy and time consuming to show to your children some tender, loving care. After all it takes just a loving remark like, I love you, you are a good boy, you are a good girl, great job, and so many more. Having you do this small little gesture, given them such assurance that they have got your attention. So the third one is parenting and children. Muslim parents have a responsibility to care to their children physically and emotionally. As I said before, parents are expected to teach their children right from wrong. Children are expected to respect their parents. From the perspective of fitrah concept, the first immediate human and environmental agencies that impact and influence innocent newborn babies are the fathers and mothers. It follows that parenthood should not be assumed by accident. It should be taken seriously and adequately planned for. The arrival of a child or children in the family marks the critical phase of parenting, which is known in Islamic terminology as tarbiyah. From this moment, the parent should be conscious and seriously determined to run a peaceful, living, and God-fearing matrimonial home. They should be good and the best examples to their children. Tarbiyah is the ideal approach in developing human nature, both directly through a method of verbal or visual communication or indirectly through providing a role model, according to a specific curriculum that employs certain means and mechanisms in order to facilitate positive change. It is a continuous and comprehensive process of developing all aspects of a children's character and personality. For example, spiritual, intellectual, moral, social, and physical aspects. The cardinal focus of tarbiyah is to develop taqwa, God's consciousness, in a child, leading to the path of constant self-purification, self-correction, and self-development, and instill in him or her the passion for truth, right, righteousness, justice, and respect for others. The ultimate goal of this concept is to produce distinguished personalities who strive for excellence and who are self-motivated, conduct a balanced life, live in peace with themselves and their environment, equipped with the necessary knowledge, understanding, and skills to make difference in the society by taking an active role in the reform process that seeks to make the betterment of their community, country, and the entire human race. The Holy Quran inculcates children to always be thankful to parents and respect their rights, to love and cherish them while they are alive, and to supplicate for their forgiveness after they demise from this world. This is why the Quran quotes good attitude towards parents as an integral part of Tawheed, as if to imply that one who abuses their parents, for example, by disobeying is like one who is doing shirk because they are disobeying Allah directly. So the last one for parenting style from Islamic perspective is draw a line for the children. Allah SWT has given us boundaries to keep within. The Messenger of Allah said, "Verily Allah the Almighty has laid down for a religious obligation, so do not neglect them. He has set boundaries, so do not overstep them. He has prohibited some things, so do not violate them. About some things that He was silent out of compassion for you, not forget. So seek not after them." Hadith Nawawi. Without boundaries, people will be in chaos, because anyone can do anything. Then same goes with the child. If their parents did not set any limit or boundaries, the child will feel freedom to act, and they will be testing you with their behavior to see what is acceptable and what is not. So you as a parent, you need to be firm but kind. Setting boundaries not mean having to be insensitive. In fact, kindness can actually be more effective when trying to build boundaries with difficult children. Anger or defensiveness will only rile them up and cause them to lash out. There will be times when arguments become inevitable. If they are bold, be bold and assertive. If they are soft, be soft and compassionate. It is important to not tarnish the relationship while displacing boundaries. Try not to insult their intelligence by using words they do not understand or trample with soft tone, with harshness. this may become counterproductive and is not good, because we as a parents we should show the good example to our children. The next is know that no is enough. Many of us grew up learning that saying no is not polite or safe, but it is completely fine to say, I feel uncomfortable. No, this is inappropriate. No, I'm leaving, or I don't want to have any that conversation. One of strategies parents may utilize to force their opinion to children is the age old. I'm your parent. I'm wiser, so listen to me. This is a tactic of manipulation used for guilt tripping. But then, maybe sometimes parents too tired and they forget their responsibility. So as a child, they need to realize that their time and space are important and should be respected. They may quote and the parents may quote the Quran or Hadith to make you feel guilty and that you are wrong for requesting boundaries. You can tell them how important the quality of your relationship is to you and how having this boundary will ensure that there is no hostility or resentment. Nevertheless, a hard no that is not okay might be the only thing that would work, and that is okay. And we as a children, we should give and take to our parents because they have worked really hard for raising us, and sometimes we should give them their time so they can rest a while from their work and enjoy their time for a second.